Cut.
Stop. Very humble. Okay, Kizza, 01 no. If you need it, just sit if you need it, just sit
citizens is not in charge of God.
Besigye, Hajji, Obedi.
Senior counsel to introduce, senior counsel to introduce the team for the respondents.
The representation for the respondent, the first and second, Mr. Elias Lukwago, Mr. Apolbayan Irinawe, Mr. Ivan Bowe, Mr. Kato Msimi, Mr. Kato Msimi.
For revision, education hiding chambers. And as a result, this court adjourned for today for mention. But the purpose probably was to ensure that the application is heard before maybe the 30th. Have not, as prosecution,
when the filing is done, the registry at the receiving court has to validate the filing. It is then endorsed by the registrar. It is allocated to the judicial officer, who has to validate it, and who, in their discretion fixes it for hearing. It is beyond the control of counsel. But it also wouldn't make sense to serve our colleague with a document which is not filed, which is not signed, and which is not fixed. That is why it has not been served. But it is in court, and once the administration or the administrative measures have been completed, we have a date. They will see it on witness, but we shall also serve the physical copy. And check to confirm it.
It's an application that is intended to facilitate an expeditious investigation in the main case. Just inform God how it was filed. We would want to know, when was it filed? When was it filed? Yes, I appreciate the fact that he does not carry weakness, but it's not due diligence on the side of the defense to ensure that that application is heard as fast as possible. Otherwise, it is frustrating the investigations. In court, that in fact the application, he has not gone ahead to even courteously inform court how far they are fast-tracking it. Because we have a limited period of time within which we are supposed to carry out our investigations. I don't know how I should say it. Like ambiguity. expeditiously. If that application was done by then, by now we would be informing court the state in which we are. Because we need to have this matter committed to High Court as fast as possible. But we are being held. This one is intended to frustrate the investigations. It should be the defense that should be facilitating an expeditious process, but again, it is the contrary. When was it filed? We were given 30 days. We could be here when the matter was filed yesterday. And yet we were here last time on 4th.
Go ahead and complete.
Arises from a criminal trial. And I believe he's very much aware. While he's alleging that it should be the defense, Article 28, Sub-Article 2, Paragraph C, says that notwithstanding Clause 1 of this article, nothing in Clause 1 of this article, Article 28, Sub-Article 3, every person who is charged with a criminal offense shall be given adequate time and facilities for preparation of his defense. I want to assume that the step we took was in preparing the accused defense. So rather than castigating the defense, I think the first thing he should have done is to apologize that given the clear duties he must perform, he has done nothing whatsoever to avail us time and or facilities. For example, given that he is the state, he should have done his best to ensure that the record of proceedings of the day of the 4th were available on that day. So much so that if we were to review the decision, and if we had to make reference to the record, we could only do so when it became available. I don't know that he's aware that it is available, despite his comment. The second was to have this matter confirmation. I do not find it anywhere for Mr. Billy Vumbuka, my dear colleague, to import the view that the court gave us 30 days. It is his creativity. But even if that is true, 30th of April is not 30 days from the 4th of April. So if we say that we have filed before the 30 days, I think he should be happy, himself having offered no support. Mr. Billy Vumbuka, as part of the state, is aware, Your Worship, that there have been changes at the High Court. Mr. Billy Vumbuka, as part of the state, is aware, Your Worship, that there have been changes at the High Court. Enga, who is entrusted with fixing these matters, or the administrative work, was also changed. The only constant is the Honorable Lady Justice Comfort Kania, who is engaged with the matter now known as the Katanga trial. So all of those things, Your Worship, we have been pursuing without any assistance from Billy Bumbuka and the state, as the law requires him to do so. That is here complaining. We have filed the application. Was filed. We can only serve the application when the matter has been allocated to the trial judge, and when the trial judge has fixed the matter in their diary. But for his frustrating acts of filing this application, to hear the matter in camera, would have finished on the 4th, and perhaps would have been proceeded. He is at liberty, if he has realized his error, to concede that we hear it now and cross-examine the person and proceed. Pardon him for that. So, Your Worship, we comply with the order. The application was filed. We have not served, because when we last checked, it has not been validated. It hasn't been endorsed by the registrar. The registrar has not forwarded it to a trial, has not allocated a trial judge, so it has not been fixed. But because he doesn't trust us, when we leave here, I will, at his expense, avail him a copy so that he can follow up on this number, confirm that I am telling the truth.
Be pleased to expand that from the record if he wishes to withdraw it, because that was a very, very unfair accusation. Your Worship, it was the persons who are interested in the expeditious exposure of this matter. Because their liberties are curtailed. They have been in state detention since the 16th of November last year. It's coming to 6 months. They have not been tried in any way. We are just embroiled in this ping pong, this gymnastics orchestrated by the state. We're not party to that. We're not responsible for that. For the record, Your Worship, the application before you was filed on 5th of March by the state. 5th of March. If I may ask, why that inordinate delay? What were they waiting for since the time the accused persons were kidnapped from Nairobi, illegally transferred to Uganda, their phone, their handsets confiscated because they have been in custody of the state? Since the 16th of November, the state has been in possession, in custody of the handsets. And they made no application whatsoever to access the data on those phones. Since 16th of November, all through December, January, February, they wake up in March and file an application to access the data on these phones. And now they have the audacity of accusing us. Very, very unfair. So, Your Worship, we take exception to that very unfair accusation. Lastly, Your Worship, what to dispose it of, how long it takes, it's none of the business of this court. Can't set timelines. So we pray that Your Worship, without wasting any more time, will be pleased to have this matter adjourned until such a time when the application will be disposed of. We assure the court, the High Court is also mindful of the urgency of these matters. But I reiterate our prayer that Mr. President should find it within his heart to withdraw the unfair accusations against us. We do so, Your Worship.
Exactly. I have to talk about frustration because it came up in this. So should I just leave it, Your Worship, like that? Because we talked about concealing. I can't get another word. The reason why I submitted that defense is frustrated, he didn't find it necessary to inform this court on when, and yet to answer the prosecution. It is vital. And why is it vital? Is because this matter was last in court on the 4th of April. And it was adjourned today, 30th of April, for mention. The reason for that was to ensure that court is updated on the status of that application. It ceases to be an update when my senior colleague uncourteously comes and informs this court how the application was filed. The defense are taking that application seriously.
I wish to object. No objection. Hearing of the said application, the rights of the accused to apply for revision will be transferred. Yes, this court can stay some proceedings, but only upon
the defense are taking that application seriously.
I wish to object. No objection. Hearing of the said application, the rights of the accused to apply for revision will be transferred. Yes, this court can stay some proceedings, but only upon. We will call for the file, not in case of anticipatory matters to be filed. However, to enable the accused person exercise their rights, the court will adjourn this matter to mention to the 30th of April, 2025 at 10 a.m. That is the ruling. Now, my objection is that Mr. Pipubuka is reading us when the application was filed, when it will be heard, and how it is progressing. The adjournment was to allow the filing of the accused persons to exercise their rights. They have done so. Perhaps, Your Worship, you can adjourn or stand over the matter so that counsel can access the registry or the ICBIS to verify this matter.
Maybe I can explain further for you to understand. Where a matter on the 4th of April 2025, my senior colleagues intimated to court how even that application was ready on that particular day. I remember. The anticipation, our anticipation was that it would be filed not far from that time. The date of filing speaks a lot to how and when that application is going to be fixed. And it also speaks to how they value that application. And if the application, for example, was filed yesterday, it demonstrates how the defense is intending to frustrate the investigations. Because we have been on record ever since we filed our application that that application was intended to enable or facilitate the investigations. So it is not a luxury, Your Worship, for this court to be informed on when that application was filed. My senior colleague shouldn't just be here and arrogant and inform court about that. I think this is arrogance of the highest court on evolution, that they wanted to file that application for revision. And the prosecution cannot be held accountable for when the record of proceedings was available to them. Because even then, it is when you file that application, the High Court orders for that record. Court was just courteous enough to ensure that the record is available to them. My brother should read the law very well. Anyway, regardless of that, Your Worship, given the circumstances, I would not object to the application having that done. Instance, without going into other things which are really, but we prefer to have it as to be adjunct for a shorter period to ensure that this court is fully updated. Because as prosecution, we are interested in it because it has an element, it has a connection to the speed at which our investigations are going to run.
Legality, illegality. Your Worship, the principle is that everything including procedure. When my land friend, Mr. Elias Ukwako, raised the issue of the accused having been kidnapped in November and their gadgets taken by the state on the 14th of November, 16, 2024. My land colleague in his able submission did not counter that. The assumption, which the statement which has not been rebutted, is that the gadgets have been in the possession of the state against the will of the owners since the 16th of November. In this application, drawn and filed by the DPP, which is represented by my colleague, Mr. Bilibun, paragraph 4 states that the Uganda police took over the investigations of the case on the 11th of February, and the deponent, Mr. Diek, was one of the officers assigned to investigate. Paragraph 5. As part of the investigations, we received some items as exhibits in this case. A copy of the slip was appended, and they were listed. They relate those to the accused persons, meaning that the state has been in possession of these gadgets per Mr. Diek since the 11th of February, have been in the possession of the state against the will of the owners since the 16th of November. In this application, drawn and filed by the DPP, which is represented by my colleague, Mr. Bilibun, paragraph 4 states that the Uganda police took over the investigations of the case on the 11th of February, and the deponent, Mr. Diek, was one of the officers assigned to investigate. Paragraph 5. As part of the investigations, we received some items as exhibits in this case. A copy of the slip was appended, and they were listed. They the state has been in possession of these gadgets per Mr. Obedi since the 11th of February. Have been in the possession of the state against the will of the owners since the 16th of November. In this application, drawn and filed by the DPP, which is represented by my colleague, Mr. Besigye, paragraph 4 states that the Uganda police took over the investigations of the case on the 11th of February, and the deponent, Mr. Obedi, was one of the officers assigned to investigate. Paragraph 5. As part of the investigations, we received some items as exhibits in this case. A copy of the slip was appended, and they were listed. They relate those to the accused persons, meaning that the state has been in possession of these gadgets per Mr. Obedi since the 11th of February.
Maybe your worship, before you take leave, you take leave of this matter. We have this application adjourned on the same date with the main application. Which does be 14 days.
Which is the main application?
We talk about the main case. When
it hasn't been called.
33 of 2025, Uganda versus Dr. Kizza, Besigye, Hajji, Obedi, Lutale, and Captain Olla.
make please your worship for prosecution.
That you extracted the record from the previous file as per the presentation. Save for only one person who is not on record, your worship. Or there are two. Proscovia Kulihira, Chiwanuka Abdallah, and worship, again, pleases you. Let's put on record the Senior Counsel Martha Karua is also joining us. Her flight delay. In the next 5 minutes, she will do it as if the proceedings are still most of the
Yes, you will go with your worship. Yes, I come to the second agenda.
Ongoing. We had earlier alleged they were frustrated, but the truth is, Your Worship, we have no objection to the adjournment. We just need to raise some housekeeping matters. Your Worship, just give it a background. In Constitutional Petition number 12 of 2006, Alice Mbati Besigye made pronouncements regarding the treatment of accused persons during trial. The court observed that until the trial court makes a pronouncement finding that where Your Worship, perhaps to best Gamiri Vumbuka and even text me for tea like he did last time. Shouldn't be a problem for the relations, friends, and leaders to speak with their people. It is just human. I want to believe, before my colleague Mr. Kamzo, that Mr. Bilubunduka has no objection. We talk to them. And they could even have a drink, so that we speak to them in a safe environment.
It's like the Bill's rights, which are all spelled out in chapter 4 of the Constitution. They are rights which ordinarily should be enjoyed by all citizens, by all Ugandans, including your worship, these fundamental basic rights like in Article 37, right to culture, the right to practice one's religion. I mean, worship, when we talk about pre-trial rights, pre-trial liberties, pre-trial freedoms, this is what it entails. To the extent that your worship, even in Lutale prisons, where they are remanded, they are not permitted to freely mingle and interact with other inmates. More or less, they are leading a life of seclusion. That life of seclusion. People, because it's a right which shouldn't be taken away. Man is naturally social. Naturally social. In all circumstances, including under confinement. It's a wife to here. But even having a whisper, just a whisper, to his loved one or her loved one, it's not allowed. Just within the precincts of what you have said, one word to your loved one, which is a right which is guaranteed under our Constitution. Finally, this honorable court is enjoined to enforce all rights outside the parameters of Article 44. So these other rights, we've got those prerogatives. 31 about family, 38, and all these other provisions, your worship, it's within the powers of this honorable court. So you do so pray that your worship, you interrogate these matters. Otherwise, the presumption of innocence has been overturned by conduct of the state in this matter. We do so pray, your worship.
See a delegate who drafted, who is one of the draft of this constitution we are talking about. So much so that when an application is made premised on a law, it's not a matter of signing an affidavit and taking this to say signs. Save that the exception is that they are confined in how it's president, that they are treated as a
family man.
Captain James Olla is also defined. He has a wife who has always attended court. He has relatives, some of them are here. Land Council Senior Frederick Power requested 5 hours. If you are pleased to order for those 5 hours, you can be. And also catch up with quite a number of events that are happening.
Senior Counsel Martha Kalua has been defied on behalf of the
And Council for F3 have raised so many things for me to respond now. There are various allegations which, as counsel for a state, should find out from the response. I can only just respond to one that I text counsel for tea. I never text him for tea. Maybe he was just joking. The rest, Your Worship, I'll actually respond to them in the next adjournment. Because they need a lot of consultation to understand whether they are authentic or not, and what is the way forward. Respond to them in the next adjournment. I saw.
During the time between the betrayal and the crucifixion, Peter denied Jesus. So I'm not surprised that my friend is denying the word. Perhaps for his job, but it is okay.
To access the data on the phones of Dr. Besigye and Obedi Lutale, and there is the investigating officer Odiek, who had deposited an affidavit, and when we sought to have him cross-examined, they wanted that to be done in camera, in chambers. We opposed it. We said it offends the right of fair hearing under Article 28, and that every proceeding should be conducted in public view or before cameras and in the presence of everybody, members of the public, for purposes of filing an application for revision. Indeed, we went ahead and filed the application. Miscellaneous clause number 17 in the criminal division of 2025, and it is now pending allocation. The particular judge is going to hear it, and they process it for further management. So naturally, today's proceedings will not go ahead. Not proceed with the application of the state seeking to open up the phones of Dr. Besigye and Obedi Lutale before that application is disposed of. But the High Court is yet to have it fixed. There have been some changes in the administration of the criminal division of the High Court. There's a new chairperson or head of the division, and many other changes that took place. So administratively, it was not easy to process it very fast. So we are waiting for court to have it allocated to a judge and heard. So today's proceedings had to be adjourned to the 21st day of May for mention. So that's exactly what has happened, and we still maintain there's no way you can have these investigations concealed and handled before, handled in chambers. Cross-examination, what is it that they are fearing? We want everybody to be in attendance as they are making their application, and we are still determined to continue with that pursuit. Thank you. And we are still determined to continue with that pursuit. Thank you.
We have a practicing certificate for the case of Obedi, Lutale and Kizza Besigye on the 27th of March, and despite having it, because I subsequently in April again the office of Obedi for the certificate, we have not received my practicing certificate to enable me to have a voice in court, to enable me to conduct my duties as a lead counsel. So today I will be going to the law council to find where we are stuck, because the court received the warning, but the law council has delayed taking the file to the court, to the registrar, where the certificate is issued. All these things do not build a lot of confidence. They leave us strong. While I'm grateful that my application was partly approved, I'm just wondering what the delay is, because it's hampered the preparation and conduct of the case, and we'll be passing by those offices.
Ngenda kusoma mwezi 16 mwezi ogwa Novemba omwaka oguwedde, naye n'okutuusa kati bakyagalemedde. Twawakanya nnyo ensi ekintu ekyo, naye magistrate n'akkiriza n'agamba ne basaba bwe twajja ne tusaba nti kale oyo investigating officer agamba nti ayagala okusumulula amasimu yasoyalinga affidavit tumukosa examininge wa mu lujjuvu. State yo neega nti eyagala bamutwale abeere mu chambers eyo nga tewali kamera, tewali memba bakwati bufunze, tumukosa examiningire mu nkokutwe. Mulamuzi nakkiriziganya ne state nti tugende mu chambers. Uganda ffe nga twagala kweyongerayo ekiragiro ekyo tulabe nti kooti esimbako ekimenyawo. So ne batuwa time tufayiringa, era twafayiringa application twagitaddeyo, era kati tulinda bagiwe mulamuzi anagiwulira. N'olw'ensonga eyo olwaleero tubadde tetuyinza kugenda mu maaso kutuusa application eyo temaze okuwulirwa. Era kyenjagala okubategeeza okutuusa nga high court emaliriza okuwulira okusaba kwaffe okw'okujulira ku kiragiro ekyo kooti kye yayisa nti investigative officer Obiek abeere cross-examined mu chambers, omusango guno tegujja kugenda mu maaso. Omulamuzi ate talina kyakola, amwongeddeyo paka nga 21 omwezi ogwokutaano bwe tujja okukomawo okulaba oba high court eneebeemaliriza okuwulira okujulira kwaffe. Kiragiro ekyo kyetuwakanya ekyokugamba nti Obiek oba investigating officer across-examiningibwe mu kamera oba mu chambers ewatali mawulire, ewatali balugunya ku ngeri y'abantu baffe gye batwitingibwamu. Basemateeka egamba yadde okulibwako emisango oba togukusinze okutuusa nga obujulizi obukulumika buleeteddwa, kye tuyita convict. So abantu bano babamazeeko eddembe lye bateekeddwa okuba nalyo nga ba prisoners. Tebabakkiriza kwogera n'abaŋŋanda, naffe balooyo okwogera nabo kizibu, okufuna badokita kizibu. Igamba embeera gye babayisaamu n'eri gye babasibira, babasiba bokka tebabakkiriza nakwogera n'abasibe balala, babatwala ng'ekintu eky'obulabe eri eggwanga, ekintu ekiteekawo kifaananyi nti oba balinga babasingisa dde omusango. Kyo tukiwakanya. State egambye ejja kwewozaako ennaku z'omwezi 21. Tuli basanyufu nti Senior Counsel Martha Kalulugunya ku ngeri y'abantu baffe gye batwitingibwamu. Basemateeka egamba yadde okulibwako emisango oba togukusinze okutuusa nga obujulizi obukulumika buleeteddwa, kye tuyita convict. So abantu bano babamazeeko eddembe lye bateekeddwa okuba nalyo nga ba prisoners. Tebabakkiriza kwogera n'abaŋŋanda, naffe balooyo okwogera nabo kizibu, okufuna badokita kizibu. Igamba embeera gye babayisaamu n'eri gye babasibira, babasiba bokka tebabakkiriza nakwogera n'abasibe balala, babatwala ng'ekintu eky'obulabe eri eggwanga,
ekintu ekiteekawo kifaananyi nti oba balinga ababasingisa dde omusango kyo tukiwakanya. Siteeti egambye ejja kwewozaako ennaku z'omwezi 21. Tuli basanyufu nti Senior Counsel Martha Karungi ekirogutta bwe kigenda mu maaso. Mwebale nnyo.